Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Bridging Impact Podcast, a podcast that is passing wisdom to the next generation of athletes, coaches, and parents to transform leaders on and off the court. And I am your host, Coach Furtado. It's the Friday edition of the Bridging Impact Podcast, which for those that have been here, you know what it is, but for those that are new, Coach's Corner, I share the wisdom I am learning as a coach, and I want to pass it on to you as a coach or a parent to transform athletes on and off the court. And today, I actually got a new laptop. So if you're watching this on YouTube, it's going to take some time for me to get my setup right. I hope my audio is still great for you all so I can bring you the most amount of value, because I am committed to doing that. And that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about commitment, because goals are just dreams and commitments help you achieve those goals and turn them into reality. And so what do I mean by that? Let's first break down why I believe that goals are great, right? It's great to have direction. It's great to set certain goals. But again, that's just what a goal is. It's an outcome that you want. You cannot achieve an outcome if you do not have a commitment to the process to reach that outcome. So what do I mean by that? Goals, let's take an example of, I'll take, an athlete who wants to make a varsity basketball team. They're a sophomore, they're kind of on the border between JV and varsity, right? And let's say they have about 6 to 8 weeks before tryouts. So their goal, right, is to make the high school varsity basketball team, which is great. That's a great goal. But what is your process? What is your commitment to making that happen? A lot of varsity basketball teams. I'm here in Los Angeles. It's very competitive. I know it's not like that everywhere. And where you may be listening, maybe rural, like where I'm from, where it was still actually very competitive at my high school, where if you are not committed to that goal, you're going to end up, on JV. And there's nothing wrong with JV, but if your goal is high school varsity basketball, then you need commitment to get there. And so I'm going to break down in this episode just how important commitment is. It's inspired by my conversation with Mike Nielsen, the strength and conditioning coach at Gonzaga. If you haven't listened to that episode yet, man, it's a good one. So that's the most recent episode. I would stop listening to me and go listen to that right now, because he knows a lot more about commitment than I do. He's a very smart guy. And it's the reason I do podcasts, because I just interview people that are way smarter than me, have way more experience, and then, hey, I get to be a sponge and learn and pass that on to you. So, hey, that's a little plug for our podcast. That's why you got to make sure you follow us so you can have great guests always coming into your feed like Mike. If not, give us a subscribe on YouTube as well. So let's dive right in. Devin Booker, if you don't know who that is, he's one of the best players in the NBA right now. He went to the University of Kentucky, and he has a similar story. We glorify Kobe Bryant quite a bit, and I actually have some pushback on some of the Kobe, the Mamba mentality that we know we can dive into another day. But talking about Devin Booker. So Booker has wanted to be in the NBA since he was a young kid, right? And especially in high school, it's something that he was committed to doing. And one of the things is he spent almost every single weekend going to a tournament, going and training, because that was his goal, right? He was committed to that. He would commit to waking up early before school and training before school, training after school, making sure he's getting his academics right. It was committed every single day. And before I kind of dive into that story, I know that commitment may not be for your athlete to commit to the NBA or college. They may just want to have a great high school basketball career and have friends and have fun. And that's great too, right? It's knowing what you're committed to. You could be committed to playing a guitar. You could be committed to, learning how to snowboard. I just am using basketball as an example. And obviously the NBA is even harder. The WNBA is so hard to get into, right? Playing college basketball, only 7% of high school athletes get to do that, right? So you gotta be different. You have to separate yourself through your commitment. And I want to share another story through two high school athletes that I've got the opportunity to work with. And They were cut. I cut them from the team last year, and obviously it pained them. But one of the athletes specifically, I still remember this to this day. I'm going to tell this story probably for the rest of my life. He came up to me after, and he's just like, he was hurt. He recognized he hadn't seen the list yet, but just how I did tryouts. He, wasn't playing in kind of like the final kind of round. He was kind of off to the side, and he just goes up to me. He's like, "Coach, I didn't make the team, did I?" Right? Kind of like assuming, and I was just honest with him. I'm like, "No, unfortunately, you did not." He's like, "What can I do? Like, how can I get better?" And then fast forward, so those tryouts were probably about September, October. Fast forward to about March. Had the opportunity to connect with one of his friends, and he started coming into my training program. And he came to 4 out of the 5 camps. He comes to most of the training sessions, and he's really put himself in a great position to make the team this year. He hasn't made the team quite yet. We haven't had our final tryout, but he's put himself in a great position because of his commitment. I know that he wakes up at 5:30 in the morning. I know that he goes to every single basketball training session that his mom can drop him off at. I know that he goes to every single one after school because he is committed, and it shows. It shows in his game. And then I have another athlete who's very similar, right? Actually very undersized, which is the athletes that I love working with. But he has a lot of heart. He brings a lot of joy to the game, and a similar thing. He didn't make the team last year. He's been working with me, and he's putting himself in a great position. He had a great workout yesterday. So I'm really excited. I love watching athletes who do not let failure dictate their outcomes, right? They use that to be more committed, and that's what I say to a lot of try and say to parents and coaches who are like, I don't want to cut them or do this and that. And being cut, right? Going back to my story, I was cut my junior year from the varsity basketball team. It hurt. It sucked. In where I'm from, you didn't play JV as a junior. In LA, it's a little more common just because of how competitive it's here, but it stung. But it's the reason I was so committed between my junior and senior year to making the team. And that commitment helped me learn the game so much, which helped me, years down the road where I had no idea what was going to happen. But that commitment led me to being a basketball coach today, and I guarantee that. But that commitment is also what set the table for now me as a podcaster, right? I'm about to drop my 70th interview Bridging Impact episode next week. I put out over 100 episodes between between the interview episodes and here, Coach's Corner. That's a commitment. I'm committed to this. I'm committed to becoming a better basketball coach. One of the things that's on my agenda today is to learn a little bit more about offense. I try and learn how can I be a better trainer each day? How can I be better at marketing and sales so I can have the opportunity to serve more athletes, because I know how great our program is. I know how great of a coach I am. I don't say that in terms of bragging, but like this is the gift that the universe gave me. So it's my job to learn how to be committed to having a great program, number one, and then finding athletes that I can serve, and then coaches that I can develop and partner with so we can serve more athletes to really make an impact. That's what I'm committed to. So, keeping that commitment in mind, what does commitment look like? Commitment is just knowing your priorities and then choosing what you want to commit to every single day, right? For me, every single day, I am committing to either 5 or 6 days, probably 6 or 7 realistically. I am coaching or learning about coaching, or I'm learning about how to grow my coaching business. Straightforward. I'm also, I'm not quite as committed, I guess, to a podcast, you can say, just because it doesn't impact my bottom line and I got to pay the bills. But I have been committed to the podcast, at least posting an episode. I probably miss 5 to 7 weeks the last year and a half, right? I'm committed to bringing as much value to you, the listener, every single week, twice a week. I'm also posting a YouTube video for athletes on Mondays. If you have athletes, let them know. Great for basketball players, right? That's the commitment it takes to be successful. I know I'm going to have a great program one day. I have an app that's coming out starting next week. It's really a privilege to do all this, but it takes commitment. So I'm just want to ask you, what are you committed to? What are you going to inspire your athletes to be committed to? Because commitment goes way, way beyond the game, right? That's beyond the game basketball. Commitment is finishing college, finishing trade school, excelling in an internship, excelling in work after you're done with high school sports, after you're done with college sports. It's everything. It is something that's going to bring for you, for your athletes, something that really will help elevate them in their lives. So thank you so much for listening to this episode. Make sure you leave us a review on Apple Reviews. Like, that's how we grow. And I would really appreciate it if you leave us a review. I'll shout you out. So I'll do a better job of going and checking those, see who leaves reviews. I would love to shout you out on our social media and also our episodes on Coach's Corner. So thank you so much. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Make sure you follow, subscribe, and stay tuned, because we are trying to do our best to bring you the best possible content to transform your leaders on and off the court. Coach Furtado out.